Well, good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie here, and I'm so glad to be with you on this particular day. I think spring is finally arriving, and I am so thrilled. I don't know about you, but I always look forward to this time of the year when things begin to really come alive and the hills just sing with new life and vibrancy. And this is, I think, probably the best weekend we've had in quite some time. And I want to share with you today um, a little story about something that happened over the weekend in our little neighborhood and how it sort of got me to thinking about expressions, things we say sometimes, and things we do, and ways we respond to uh, remarks that aren't always the kindest they could be, because we do have the power within ourselves to turn things around if we just take a moment and think about it and maybe discuss it with some of our friends and family. And this is sort of what happened over the weekend and turned out to be a really positive experience. Um, one of our neighbors out here in my community, and I've told you before that I'm really blessed to live in a community that spans the entire spectrum of ages, from newborn babies to great grandpas and grandmas. And that's a wonderful community in which to live because you grow up with a broader sense of what it means to be involved with people and what different ways of interacting with different people at all stages of their lives, as well as just different types of people, because we have people in our community that have had so many different life experiences throughout their time on this earth that we all learn from each other as we go along. And such was the case over the weekend. It was absolutely yesterday a magnificent day, warm, sunny, windy, just glad to be out and about. And all the kids in the neighborhood were glad to be out and about and doing different things. And I was out in the garage doing sort of an inventory, getting ready to set some plants out in a week or two, because we probably will have some chilly nights yet. And it's for some of the plants, it's a little bit iffy to put them out yet. So I was out there. I had the garage door open because I wanted to really enjoy the breeze and the sunshine and everything, and see what was going on up and down the street in our community, which is always fun to do because people stop by and visit and talk and um, just enjoy each other's company as a general rule. Every once in a while, somebody gets a little grumpy. You'll have that in a community, and that's okay too. You just learn to adapt and move on and make the best of the situation. And what happened yesterday was sort of interesting. One of our neighbors who has um, been around probably a little bit longer than me, that seems hard to believe, but it's true, uh, was working in his garage as well. And some of the boys on the street, they see a garage door open. It's sort of like an invitation to check out what's going on. And they had stopped by his house. And whatever he was doing, it apparently took a lot of his time and energy, and he wasn't real happy about doing it. And when some of the boys stopped by, he told them to go fly a kite. Well, that expression is frankly sort of an impolite way of telling someone to go away or to leave you alone. It's not a very common expression nowadays. However, it was popular in shows and other forms of entertainment from the late 40s, I am told, when it originated, and for several decades thereafter. The modern equivalent would be to tell someone to go to HE double hockey sticks, although this version is even more impolite. So, go fly a kite literally means go away. Uh, just walk away. Don't bother me. I am too busy. You need to go. Uh, Another synonym might be something like go jump in the lake. The important part of the expression is go. Not what the person will do once he leaves, but go, get away. Another similar example is the expression get lost. And so it was pretty clear that this gentleman was not having the best of all possible days and did not wish to entertain boys, probably from about 10 to 14, in his garage that day. And some days he was fine with it, but not that particular day. Uh, it's an order, it's not a request. It just is pretty much emphatic and very clear if you know what the expression actually means. And these boys really weren't quite clear what it meant. In fact, several of the boys had never flown a kite. And so my garage door was open just a few doors down, and they stopped by my house and started chatting, and I was doing nothing. Really that I couldn't stop and visit with them for a while. And they were telling me about their experience, and they wanted to be sure they understood. And I said, well, he probably is real busy and just didn't want to lose his focus and needed you guys to scat on out of there for a while he was finishing up whatever he was doing. And this led to a discussion of kites in general. My dad was a wonderful kite maker. It was something he looked forward to every single spring. And he built the most beautiful big box kites with us kids as we were growing up. And then when we would go up to the baseball field and on a windy March day usually, and fly them as the first sign of spring. It was just something all of us looked forward to. So anyway, the boys got to talking to me, and I said, well, did you ever fly a kite? Well, no. Did you ever build a kite? Well, no. I said, well, I've got time, and I think we've got everything we need here in the garage to do it. Do you want to give it a try and see what we can come up with? And they're at that age where something like that is just right up their alley. And they said, sure. So I sent them on a mission while I was finishing up the stuff I was doing. I said, you need to find the roll of brown paper. I think I've got a big roll of brown paper over in a barrel over there. And so they went looking for it. And I said, then we need some real lightweight sticks. And I think you'll find them. And I told them what shelf I thought they were on. And then we need some glue. Then we need some some string. And they're looking at me like, all right, this seems really, really strange. And then we need something to give it a little bit of weight. And I said, there's a bag of rags over there, get those and we'll get to that later on. And so they were busy going around the garage and finding the stuff they needed. And I told them to set up a couple sawhorses and put a board on top of it, and that'd be our bench and we'd work on it. Meanwhile, I had to stop and move the car out of the garage because there wasn't room, but that was okay. It was no big deal. And they were excited because they were getting to build something new and make a mess in my garage, which always seems to delight the boys in the neighborhood. So anyway, everyone gathered the different things they needed. And again, this is taking, the whole point of this is nobody can really give you a bad time without your permission. That's one of my favorite quotes, paraphrased from Eleanor Roosevelt. And I've always tried to turn a negative into a positive whenever I can and learn from it and move forward. So that's what we were about. The boys certainly didn't know it. And about that time, a couple of the little girls from the neighborhood came down and wanted to know what we were getting into. And so I told her we were going to build a kite. And one of the little girls says, "What's a kite?" And of course, the boys used that opportunity to try to explain to her, though they weren't really sure themselves what a kite was and what you did with it. So, anyway, the whole adventure proceeded, and the girls were looking at the paper, and one of them is really artistic, and she says, "Well, that looks sort of plain. Could we draw pictures on the paper um, uh, to decorate it before we put everything together?" I said, "Well, sure you can." And that meant they had to go find the markers and uh, the colored pencils and stuff to do that. So the girls went into my office where I told them to go and got those things out, brought them out in the garage. And so now we're out there with brown paper and coloring pens, and we're having a really good time. I'm sure their parents wondered where they went, but we weren't that far away from anybody. If they just walked down the street, they'd find us. And different ones were saying what they knew about kites. Some of them knew about dragons on kites and different things like that. One had read a book they remembered when they were a little kid about a kite, and they were just having a good time talking. Uh, so, to me, the paper that they were working on was sort of the substance of the thing. This was the substance. And they were defining by the artwork they were choosing to put on it the message they were going to be sending out into the world once uh, everything was completed. And the sticks were the framework within which uh, this structure was going to be built. And that was really important because you needed some type of a framework, something to uh, contain your thoughts, your messages, whatever. Uh, and so they were very careful. And as I was explaining to them how the framework needed to be put together to support the paper, the substance of their thoughts on whatever. And then what were they going to do to support it, to make it all stay together? And that was when they started folding the paper around the sticks, gluing it together, uh, making sure that it was attached uh, completely and it had time to dry. And so, this was a process, and they had to go through the various steps. And the string that they were attaching, they weren't real sure what they were going to do with it. But then I explained to them, well, you're going to tie it to these points here, here, and here, and uh, make sure it's sturdy and make sure it's long enough. And here's a stick that you can wrap the string around. Fortunately, I have the garage that always has string in it. It seems like I always need string. And I showed them how to wrap the string around a stick so they could unreel it as they needed to once they got ready to launch the kite. And as we're talking, I just said, sometimes we're kept on a shorter leash than others, on different occasions. And a lot of the time it's because maybe we're concerned the string isn't strong enough to support the pull and the pressure of the distance that this will be traveling, and it might break. So you want to be a little bit cautious and concerned in order to maintain guidance, because if the string breaks while the kite is airborne, you have no control anymore. It's going to go wherever it's going to go, wherever the wind chooses to take it. And they're all talking about different things that they can relate to in that. And it's interesting listening to kids in that age group talk to each other as they formulate their own sense of values and morals. And who would have thought a kite building class would turn into that? But it did. And at any rate, later in the day, because I said we're going to have to let these sit for several hours so they dry really good, come back over and we'll finish up and see if we can get them airborne. So they did. Well, when they came back over, I had forgotten totally about some type of ballast, to put a tail on the kite. And so I explained to them why you needed ballast to help it lift and to help it stabilize. And they were good with that. And they were taking the old rags and they were tying them to and creating a tail for the kite so that it would fly right. And we got to the point where I said, let's go out in the backyard now because I don't have any telephone wires out in that section of the yard. It's a safe, empty place to do something like this. And so we all went out in the backyard and I said, we're going to have to take turns because you can't just get it to fly on your own. Usually you need someone to sort of hold it up for you as you begin to run and let the wind catch it and lift it up. And so they would take turns and, one little boy just zips that power. He got his up and going and it quickly went up over the treetops. And he was saying, oh, what am I going to do? I'm about out of string. So one of the kids took his the string he had gotten ready for his kite, and he said, here, attach mine and let's see how far up we can get it to go. And it just kept sailing. It was just a perfect day for flying a kite. And they're having fun. Each of them in turn were helping the others. And it was a nice age group. And even the little kids were excited because kites attract a crowd. I don't care how old you are. And even the gentleman across the way who had been a little bit crotchety came down and he said, what are you doing? And I laughed and I said, well, you told them to go fly a kite and they didn't know how. So I'm teaching them how. And he just shook his head and he said, all right, Barbara, you do have a way about doing things. And I said, well, gave all of us something to do. And I haven't flown a kite in years. Would you like to try? Well, absolutely. He wanted to try too. And what could have been a real bad experience for the kids turned into be a really great experience for everybody. And we all were just happy. We turned what could have been a grumpy negative experience into a really happy experience because as I've talked to you so many times, our own state of mind really is the determiner for how our days evolve. And we can help shape our days as positively as they can be if we just examine the opportunities that present themselves to us. I can't tell you the last time I have had that much fun with a bunch of people in an unplanned event where I did very little except be the supply source for what they were learning to do. At our chapters, we have that same opportunity to supply substance, framework, support, guidance, friendship, advice, help, and encouragement to sustain an effort to get a positive outcome. What a wonderful lesson I learned this weekend when the kids were told to go fly a kite. All of us benefited from it so very much. And I hope that you too, when you are given something negative, will reach out to your friends and supporters and turn it into something positive that will help you grow and enjoy your journey every step of the day. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for letting me share a few minutes with you as we talked about going to fly our kites. Soar high, do it proudly, and enjoy your day. Talk to you later. Bye for now.